The moment I knew I'd burn their world to ash was when Vivienne Laurents, my mother-in-law, thrust a stack of greasy plates at me during Cliffhaven Manor's summer gala and sneered, "Elise, darling, you're such a natural at this Maid thing. Stick to what you're good at." The crowd's laughter cut like shattered glass, their champagne flutes glinting under the chandeliers like cruel stars. My hands shook as I gripped the china, my second-hand dress clinging to my skin, while my husband, Theo, gave a weak chuckle and turned away. That was 6 years ago, and the memory still sears like a brand. I'm not a maid, I'm a data scientist who keeps cities alive with algorithms I forged from scratch, untangling traffic grids and transit systems for millions. But to the Laurents, I'm the outsider who stumbled into their old money dynasty, expected to pour their wine and vanish into the shadows of Cliffhaven, their sacred Maine estate where they play royalty every August. They don't know I've spent 8 years forging an empire in secret, flipping properties, dissecting markets, and hiding my moves behind a shell company. They don't know I own the Cliffhaven Trust, the financial juggernaut that controls this entire estate, every turret, every rose, every wave crashing on the cliffs below. Tonight, at their glittering charity gala, I'm going to tear down their arrogance and show them the maid they mocked is the queen of their castle. Vivienne's face when she sees my name on the deed? That'll be my salvation. My name is Elise Moreau, I'm 37, and I've been married to Theo Laurents for 12 years. Theo's a literature professor at a small college, soft-spoken and brilliant, with a nervous habit of quoting Auden or Eliot when the air gets heavy. I love him, or the Theo who shows up when his family's not around, the one who traces my palm in bed and whispers poetry like it's a lifeline. But the Laurents are poison draped in silk. Vivienne, the art dealer matriarch, wields her charm like a guillotine, her smile a blade that draws blood. Claire, Theo's influencer sister, lives for her 250,000 Instagram followers, her cruelty as polished as her feed. Graham, the hedge fund brother, struts like he owns the world, his arrogance sharper than his bespoke suits. Every summer, they swarm Cliffhaven Manor, a 19th century estate in Bar Harbor, Maine, with stone turrets, rose gardens, and Atlantic cliffs that scream old New England wealth. The air smells of salt and pine, and the chandeliers glow like molten gold over their cocktail parties, where Vivienne courts museum directors, Claire poses for candid reels, and Graham seals deals with bankers over cigars. For them, it's a throne room to flaunt their status. For me, it's a war zone where I'm expected to serve drinks, clear plates, and swallow their venom with a smile. I've played their game for years, nodding silently, letting them think I'm nothing. But this year, I'm not a guest. I'm the owner of the Cliffhaven Trust, controlling every dollar, every painting, every inch of these grounds. And tonight, they're going to choke on the truth. I wasn't born for their gilded cage. I grew up in a dying Vermont town, in a clapboard house with a sagging porch and a furnace that rattled like a ghost. My mother, Rosa, worked double shifts at a textile factory, her hands scarred from needles, her lungs poisoned by chemical fumes. She'd sit me down at our splintered kitchen table, her eyes fierce despite the exhaustion, and say, "Elise, the world doesn't see you unless you force it to. Build your power, brick by brick." She taught me math by candlelight when the power was cut, showed me how to balance a checkbook at 14, whispering, "Numbers don't lie, but people do." When I was 16, she made me memorize her recipes, saying, "These are your roots," even when they try to rip them out. She died when I was 22, lung cancer stealing her breath, leaving me her recipe box stuffed with her spidery handwriting and a hunger to prove myself. I won a scholarship to a state college, worked nights tutoring high schoolers to buy textbooks, and clawed my way to a master's in data science. By 25, I was designing urban systems, traffic grids, transit networks, the invisible scaffolding that keeps cities alive. I paid off my loans by 29, bought a beat-up Subaru, and started dreaming of something bigger. But when I married Theo at 32, I didn't just marry a man, I married into a family that saw me as dust on their polished floors. The Laurents were old money, their fortune rooted in 19th century shipping and real estate, gilded by Harvard degrees and yacht club memberships. My first dinner with them, at their Boston club, was like stepping into a trap. Vivienne introduced me as Theo's wife, from somewhere up north, her smile sharp enough to slice my thrift store dress. Graham, half drunk, said, "Elise, you're like our little helper, always tidying up," when I cleared a spilled glass. They laughed, a sound like breaking crystal. Theo squeezed my hand and whispered, "They don't mean it." But they did. At our engagement party, Claire asked me to hold her phone for Instagram shots, then posted them with me cropped out, captioning, "Family vibes only." Theo chuckled, then stopped when he saw my face. "They're just playing," he said. But their games left scars. I tried to win them over, to prove I was more than their caricature. I hosted their Thanksgiving dinners, spending days roasting turkeys and baking pies while Vivienne sniffed, "So rustic, Elise, like a barn sale." I planned their father's 70th birthday at a Boston yacht club, booking the venue, designing invitations, curating a seafood menu with lobster bisque and seared scallops. Claire gave a toast, thanking everyone from the chef to her dog walker. My name erased. Theo kissed my cheek and said, "You know you did everything." But he didn't tell them. I organized their 2018 Cliffhaven retreat, spending weeks with Marisol Vega, the estate's manager, to book suites, arrange lobster bakes, and schedule staff. At the closing dinner, Graham raised a glass to family legacy, then smirked at me and said, "And to Elise, our honorary staffer." The room roared. Theo laughed, then faltered when my jaw tightened. "They're joking," he whispered. "But jokes don't make you feel like you're drowning." The slights grew sharper. At a 2019 Cliffhaven brunch, Claire accidentally spilled mimosa on my dress, giggling, "Oh, Elise, you're so good at cleaning up." Vivienne introduced me to a senator as Theo's wife, who helps around the house, while I stood there with a master's and a $10 million city contract under my belt. Graham, at a 2020 dinner, handed me his empty plate and said, "Be a good girl and take this to the kitchen." The table laughed. Theo's smile was strained, but he stayed silent. My heart fractured, each slight a crack. The worst was 6 years ago, at that gala on the cliffside lawn. Vivienne's Maid thing comment wasn't just cruel, it was a guillotine. The crowd's laughter, Theo's averted eyes, the plate's weight in my hands, it shattered me. I carried them to the kitchen, locked myself in a bathroom stall, and stared at my reflection until my mother's voice broke through, brick by brick. No tears fell. I'd build a throne they couldn't topple. That night, I launched my empire. I took a $10,000 bonus from my startup contract and bought a failing inn in Stowe, Vermont, using a shell company, Violet Ventures, to hide my name. I'd learned the game from a real estate seminar, paid for with my own savings. Data science was my blade. I analyzed tourism trends, occupancy rates, and market gaps to spot diamonds in the rough. That inn, with peeling paint and sagging beds, became a boutique haven, netting 6 figures in 18 months. I reinvested every penny, buying a hotel in Bar Harbor, a brewery in Portland, Maine, a vineyard in Rhode Island, and a coastal lodge in Cape Cod. I flew to Boston and New York for investor meetups, learning to structure anonymous funds and navigate tax shelters. I worked nights coding algorithms, my day job untangling city grids, while Marisol slipped me Cliffhaven's financial ledgers. The Laurents saw me as frugal, my Subaru parked beside their Teslas, my thrift store dresses mocked. They didn't know I was forging a war. 2 years in, I hit a crisis. The Bar Harbor Hotel needed a $70,000 roof repair, and my cash was tied up in the vineyard. I almost sold it, but Marisol, Cliffhaven's manager for 15 years, became my rock. A Puerto Rican woman with a razor-sharp mind, she'd endured Vivienne's tirades with quiet fire. Over coffee in the Manor's kitchen, I confessed my plans. "Mija, you're playing chess while they're throwing shade," she said, grinning. She linked me with her cousin, Luis Rivera, a real estate lawyer who refinanced my loan. Marisol became my spy, sharing staff complaints about Vivienne's tyrant outbursts and Graham's unpaid tabs. $15,000 in whiskey and cigars since 2013. When the Cliffhaven Trust went up for sale last year, the entity managing the estate's $25 million in bookings, I saw my chance. This was their cathedral, a 150-acre estate with 80 rooms, a private beach, and a gallery of Turners and Sargents worth millions. Vivienne ruled here, Claire built her Instagram empire, Graham inked contracts with bankers. I sold my Cape Cod lodge, leveraged my properties, and raised $50 million with a silent partner, Elena Torres, a tech CEO from my Bar Harbor deal. The Laurents were blind. I was Elise, the servant, pouring their coffee while I met bankers in Portland. The acquisition was a brutal 12 months. I worked triple shifts, dodging Theo's questions about my late calls. He thought I was stressed about work. I was outbidding tycoons. The seller, Evelyn Hart, a widowed heiress, questioned my anonymous bid through Violet Ventures. I flew to her, armed with a slide deck projecting $5 million in new revenue from community events. "You've got fire," she said, signing. Marisol and I scoured the trust's financials, finding dynamite. Vivienne had sold for Sargent's for $2 million, pocketing it. Graham had diverted $1.5 million to his hedge fund's crypto bets, losing $3 million. Claire's camped suites cost $120,000 yearly. I saved every email, receipt, and staff memo, Vivienne calling me the help in a 2019 note, waiting for my moment. The closing, in a Boston law office, smelled of ink and vengeance. I signed, my hands steady, my heart a drum. That night, I stood on Cliffhaven's cliffs, the Atlantic raging, my mother's voice roaring. "You built this." But enemies circled. Charles Whitmore, a Boston real estate mogul tied to Graham, had bid on the trust for a condo empire. When I won, he unleashed hell, spreading rumors in Bar Harbor's elite circles that I'd conned Evelyn Hart. Graham, unaware I was the buyer, boasted at a party about Whitmore's plan to keep Cliffhaven pure. I stayed calm, using Marisol's network, bartenders, housekeepers, dock workers, to track Whitmore's moves. When he lobbied the town council to block my arts fund, I countered with a public pitch, projecting $3 million in tourism and 150 jobs. The council backed me, but Whitmore vowed, "I'll bury you." The Laurents weren't idle either. Unbeknownst to me, Graham had hired a private investigator, suspecting shady trust activity. The PI, a sleazy ex-cop named Malone, tailed me for weeks, snapping photos of my Boston meetings. Graham shared them with Vivienne, who spun a tale of my secret affairs to Theo, hoping to fracture us. Theo confronted me one night, his voice shaking. "Elise, are you hiding something?" I showed him my bank statements, clean, but coded with Violet Ventures transfers. "Work, Theo," I said, my heart breaking at his doubt. He apologized, but the seed was planted. Tonight, the gala is a tinderbox. The ballroom thrums with wealth, silk gowns, tailored suits, champagne flutes clinking under chandeliers. The Atlantic glitters, roses scenting the air. Vivienne charms a curator, her laugh a scalpel. Claire films a reel by a turner, her hair perfect. Graham pitches crypto to a mogul. Theo sips gin, debating Dickens, blind to my absence. I find Marisol by the stage. "Ready to ignite?" she whispers, her grin fierce. I nod, my black dress, new, tailored, bought with my blood money, feeling like armor. My mother's recipe box, tucked in my clutch, grounds me. I've waited for this. Marisol mounts the podium, her navy suit sharp against the oak. She taps her glass, silencing the room. "Good evening," she says, her voice a command. Cliffhaven Manor is a century-old beacon. Tonight, we unveil the steward of the Cliffhaven Trust, the woman rewriting its future in the shadows. The Laurents smirk, expecting a crony. Marisol's smile is a spark. "Please welcome Elise Moreau, sole owner of this estate." The silence is a bomb. Vivienne's flute shatters, champagne pooling like blood. Claire's phone crashes, screen splintering. Graham's face twists, veins pulsing. Theo's eyes lock on me, a storm of shock and betrayal. I stride forward, heels cracking like gunfire, and seize the microphone. "Thank you, Marisol," I say, my voice a blade. "You know me as Theo's wife. Or you thought you did." Gasps erupt. I face Vivienne, her pearls a noose. "They called me a maid in my own family, right here, Vivienne, when you said I should make it my job. But I've owned Cliffhaven for months." The room explodes, whispers, gasps, a banker choking on his scotch. Vivienne's face collapses, her rouge a clown's mask. Claire's eyes bulge, her poise in shards. Graham's fists clench, his glare lethal. Theo's gaze is raw, guilt, awe, pain. I don't stop. "Cliffhaven's not your playground," I say, my voice thunder. "It's for those who build, not steal." I unveil the Elise Moreau Arts Fund, named for my mother, redirecting profits to 200 scholarships, art classes, and local exhibits. Vivienne flinches, her legacy erased. I drop the hammer. All leases are terminated. Graham, your 3 cottages cost $100,000 yearly in lost revenue. Claire, your subletting? Done. And Vivienne, those sergeants you sold? I have the receipts. I hold up a folder, emails, bank transfers, staff memos. The crowd gasps. I don't read them. The threat is enough. I exit, the crowd parting like a sea. Theo catches me in the hall, his voice breaking. Elise, how? Why didn't you tell me? I face him, the man I loved through 12 years of silence. You laughed, Theo. When they called me a maid, you laughed. I built this alone. He staggers, tears falling. I walk to the cliffside garden, waves crashing, stars blazing. My lungs expand, free. Morning brings war. I skip the Laurents brunch, meeting Marisol to review the Arts Fund. $1 million pledged, 75 jobs created. Staff nod, some whispering heroina. My phone's a battlefield. Claire's texts, Elise, WTF. Graham's emails demanding arbitration, Vivienne's voicemail, icy. This is a betrayal, darling. I ignore them. At a donor lunch, I present a slide deck, brutal, data-driven, exposing Vivienne's $2 million art theft, Graham's $3 million loss, Claire's $120,000 camped rooms. Donors gasp. The Laurents shrink. I confirm lease terminations, adding, Cliffhavens for Bar Harbor, not entitled ghosts. Claire strikes back, posting Instagram rants accusing me of stealing Cliffhaven, calling me a Vermont grifter. Her followers flip when I release Arts Fund data. $4 million in tourism, 200 jobs. Bar Harbor's papers run headlines, Elise Moreau saves Cliffhaven. Claire's followers crash by 50,000. Graham tries a lawsuit, claiming I rigged the sale. Lewis buries him with evidence of his crypto losses, including emails bragging about free cash. Vivienne donates a stolen Turner to the fund, claiming philanthropy. I accept it, my smile a dagger. Whitmore escalates, bankrolling a local paper, the Bar Harbor Beacon, to smear me as a corporate raider destroying Cliffhaven's heritage. The editor, a Whitmore crony, digs into my Vermont past, painting me as a scheming nobody. I counter with a community open house, inviting 500 locals to tour Cliffhaven's new art studios. Marisol staff share stories of Laurents neglect, unpaid wages, broken dorms. A cook, Rosa Diaz, says, Elise paid my son's tuition when Vivienne wouldn't tip. The Beacon's story flops, its circulation tanking. Whitmore's allies scatter, his threats hollow. The Laurents plot a last stand. Graham, Claire, and Vivienne hire a crisis PR firm, spinning a tale of family betrayal to local elites. They host a rival gala at a yacht club, inviting senators and donors, claiming I stole their legacy. I crash it, uninvited, with Marisol and Lewis. I present a tablet slideshow, Vivienne's email selling art, Graham's crypto losses, Claire's tax-dodging sublets. The room falls silent. A senator walks out. The PR firm quits by morning. The Laurents gala raises $5,000. My arts fund hits $2 million. Theo's the hardest. We talk for months, raw and jagged. He admits his failure. I thought you were fine, he says, sobbing. I was blind. I say, I stayed for love, Theo, but I'm done begging to be seen. We don't divorce. He moves to a cottage, teaches online, coaches kids at the Arts Fund with poetry. I see the man I married, but trust is a slow rebuild. One night, he leaves a note with a frost quote, I took the one less traveled by. I keep it, unsure what it means. But the fight deepens. Whitmore allies a new tactic, bribing a town council member to push an environmental review, claiming my arts fund's construction threatens local wildlife. I hire an ecologist, proving the project enhances habitats, new wetlands, bird sanctuaries. The review fails, but the delay costs me $200,000 and 3 months. Meanwhile, Claire leaks a doctored photo of me at a Boston bar, alleging an affair to discredit me. Marisol traces the edit to a PR intern. I sue for defamation, winning a $50,000 settlement that funds a youth art contest. The scandal backfires, Claire's followers dropping another $20,000. The Laurents double down, hiring Malone again to dig into Violet Ventures. He uncovers my stolen purchase but misinterprets it as money laundering. They file a false police report, leading to a raid on my Bar Harbor office. I'm cleared in 48 hours, but the stress nearly breaks me. Lewis counters with a countersuit, exposing Malone's illegal wiretaps, winning $300,000 and a restraining order. The Laurents' legal fund dries up, their reputation shredded. Months later, Cliffhaven transforms. The art center opens with 500 attendees, featuring Rosa Diaz's son's winning painting, a vibrant cliff scene. The fund hits $5 million, funding a marine lab for local kids. Staff, now unionized under Marisol, share $1 million in profits. Bar Harbor names a school after Rosa. A CNN feature calls me the revenge architect. Vivienne fades, selling her gallery at a loss. Graham's hedge fund collapses. He moves to Florida. Claire's channel dies. Her last post a tearful apology ignored. Theo and I rebuild, slowly, dinners, walks, his poetry readings to the kids. One night, he says, "I see you now." I nod, holding his hand. A year on, I stand on the cliffs at dawn, coffee in hand, the estate alive with laughter. My mother's recipe box sits on my desk, a relic of my roots. Brick by brick, she whispers. I built this, and no one will take it. If you've been erased, tell me how you fought back. Drop it below, someone needs your fire. Smash subscribe, ring the bell. More's coming.